All right. Hi, everyone. It's time for another demo. Actually, this has been on my to-do list since the very beginning of the semester because I got this idea after reading the process activity 1. And what I gained from that assignment was a lot of people mentioned that the hardest part about being in an online program is kind of like the organization and the time management skills. And so I'd been wanting to kind of put together a little demonstration on how to use Google Calendar if you do not already use it. And, as a teacher, I was one of those, I lived off of my paper-based calendar. Like, I wrote everything in that. As teachers, we have the cute ones where you can have the student lists in there and you can have their grades and all of that. And everything was paper-based. And then when I started doing the PhD program and I was having to manage not only work and family, but now I had school to throw on top of that. I was getting to the point where I was about to buy 2 paper calendars and realized, no, there's got to be a better way. And so I decided over spring break one year that I was actually going to transition to using Google Calendar, so becoming more familiar with technology. And I have to say, I tried it over spring break, and I've never gone back. And I just realized how important and how much better and more efficient and more effective it is to actually use Google Calendar. Because all our emails are through Gmail, you already have access to it, everything's connected. And so I really wanted to kind of show you, if you're not already using it, how to kind of make the best use out of this tool. And so I'm using one of our recruitment accounts just because the calendar isn't being used, because we all use our personal ones. So I thought I would just kind of demonstrate, well, how do you even do this? How would you set it up? So basically, what you want to do is you can have a whole bunch of different calendars. And I really recommend doing that in the sense that you can have one calendar per thing in your life that you need to manage. So for example, you're going to want to make a calendar for ITE 321 and SPED 64. You'd want to make a calendar for the other course that you're taking. You'd want to make a calendar for field supervision. And then you definitely want one for your personal life, and if maybe, if you have a job, track all your work-related things. So you can make as many calendars as you need, and then you just have them all on one sheet. So they're kind of overlapping and you can color code them and things like that. So let me show you how to do that. So when you go to your calendar button, so anytime you see these 9 buttons on the right-hand side when you go into your Gmail, you can always click on it and it gives you all your options. And so here we are at calendar. So you would just choose this one. Okay. So go to here to add calendar, create new calendar. You want to name it. So I'm going to make this one our course. So I321/SPED 461. You could put a description in there if you wanted to. Make sure it's on Hawaii time, who it is, and then just push create calendar. My computer is really slow right now. I apologize. Come on. Okay, so it created it. Sorry, you're seeing all the hidden ones, but I'm going to push back on the settings, and it says it's been created. So here it is, ITE 321 SPED 461, and I'm going to click on it, and here, make it whatever color you want. So I'm going to go with green for UH Manoa. It's a UH Manoa course, okay? And so now that I have this calendar, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to start putting all the important dates that I need to remember on the calendar. So we're pretty much, more than halfway through the semester, but we do have some important assignments coming in. So for example, the lesson plan is due on Wednesday, April 10th. So what I can do is click on the 10th, okay? The default is going to be whatever the first one is, but you can always change it. So I'm going to change it to ITE 321. You see how it turns to green? And I'm going to say, I could do this 2 ways. So I could say, by the start of the Zoom class, okay, 3 p.m., my lesson plan is due. Okay, and I can save that, and it'll pop up on my calendar. Now it's a little dot, And, you know, it'll have there, and like, for example, we also need to know that on that same day, we have our Zoom session. Okay, and you can make the time more specific. So it's from 4:30 to 6. Okay, now when you get into your calendar, depending on what the default setting is, you might actually see it like this. Like it could be the day, right? And you're like, what is this? I don't see anything. Just go up here and change to whatever you're most comfortable with. I typically do month, but you can do week as well if you just want to focus on 1 week at a time. So for example, since I put in the 10th, here we go. So on the 10th, it shows from this block to this block, I have a Zoom session, and then my lesson is due at that time. But I'm going to go back out to month. I think it's a kind of big picture. So what happens is, what you'll see is, if you're a really busy person and you start having a bunch of these things, you might overlook the important fact that your lesson plan is due. So another strategy you could use is click on it and just say your lesson plan is due, and don't put a time. Because what'll happen, oops, and I need to switch it to the right calendar, is it'll make this big green mark at the top, which means because there's no time, it's gonna be at the top, and it's gonna be color-coded, and it's just much easier to see. My lesson plan is due on the 10th. So that's one way you can also put it in there. Now on April 24th, our PA6 is due. So I'm gonna add that. So PA number 6 due. Okay, so it's there. And then the last one, May 1st, change the calendar, unit plan is due. Okay. And then we have our Zoom session here. Zoom session, and I'm gonna say at 4:30 p.m. to 6 o'clock. Okay, so I've done that. Those are all the major things I need to remember. Now, you don't want to wait until the 10th to do your lesson plan. You kind of want to give yourself reminders or triggers to, tell yourself, okay, this is when I'm going to work on it. One thing that I learned I had to do once I started my program and balancing everything was I had to find a day and time that I could consistently count on to use to get my work done. And what that ended up being for me is Sunday mornings. So I wake up on Sunday, I grab my coffee, and every single Sunday I sit down, and that's when I do my assignments for the whole week, because I know that my job is going to really keep me busy all week, and I don't want to run the risk of not having time to get things done. So if that's the case, like if this were me, and I know that I'm working all week, I have family obligations, but yet I have a lesson plan that's due on this date, I'm going to set myself a reminder that I need to do it on Sunday. So what I would do is you can put a task. And the only way you'll see this task in all of these options is if the task calendar is actually selected. So you'll see all these things here. Make sure tasks is selected so you can choose that option. And when you go to task, you can just say finish lesson plan. Okay. And again, there it is. And what's cool about this is that once you're done with it, it's kind of like a checklist. We all love checklists. So you would just say, oh, once you finish it, you check it off. And look, it crosses it out and it makes it kind of faded in the background so that you know that it's done. But I'm going to put it back. Now, let's say Sunday I have something special going on and I just don't get to it. You can just drag and drop this. So then I would know, okay, I'm going to have to do it on Monday. So there's a little bit of flexibility in there in terms of moving it as you see fit. But let's say you have these things that you want to do, but there's no specific deadline for it. And you don't want to forget about it because you're really busy and you know that if you don't actually write it down somewhere, you're going to forget. So let's say you need to make like an appointment for a massage, right? Take care of yourself. So I know that I want to get a massage at some point in time. Another thing you can do with calendars is when you can click on it, you can just say reminder, okay? Schedule a massage. Okay, push save. Okay, and what's cool about this one is, again, you can mark it as done or not. but it's automatically going to follow you as you go. So for example, if you don't get the massage, as soon as tomorrow comes, it's just going to be in the next day's box. And so what happens, though, that you got to watch out for is I'm going to not try to scare you, but I'm going to let you look at my personal calendar real quick, and I'm going to show you what happens. So here's my calendar, okay? And here's my reminders, and boom, there's a bunch of things in there. And so that's the only difference between a task and a reminder. Tasks stay where they are. So for example, here was my assignment that I was doing on Sunday. I need to click on it, and I actually did do it, so I need to mark it as complete, and it's done in there. But if you pass it, this task is not going to move with you. So it's not going to tell you, okay, you need to keep working on it, whereas reminders will. Okay, so reminders will kind of like just follow you day by day. And so it's just your reminders are just going to get longer and longer and longer as you go. But it's a really cool tool in terms of things that are not as prioritized. Whereas you might want to use your tasks as more of a priority thing. Like you have to get those things done at that time. There's also this really cool thing you can bring out to the side where you can actually have all your tasks listed. So, and then it'll have a running record, and it literally acts as a checklist. So that's kind of cool too. So as you start putting things in there, you can just pull it out, and you can actually have your checklist of things that you need to get done. Okay. Another cool thing. So let's say because our ITE 321 SPED 461 is the same for everyone, why should everyone have to go in and create this calendar? You can make it as a whole group and just share it with each other so that you're not wasting time. You know, have someone build this course's calendar and have someone else build your other class's calendar. Your field supervision, obviously, you're going to have to do on your own because that's going to always be different. But one way to share it is you click on these 3 little dots on the side of your calendar, and you just go to settings and sharing. And you have to, you know, give it permission. So make it available for University of Hawaii because you guys all have an account. And then you can either do it by sharing the link and just sending this to everybody in the class, or you can actually add people individually, and you can even give them permissions on what they can and cannot do. So maybe you just have one person that's kind of managing it for everybody so that you know that, oh, you know, the professor changed the due date. Can so-and-so go into the calendar and change it so that it reflects on everybody's calendar? Then you can have someone that's kind of in charge of it. But otherwise, you just kind of add on, put names in there, and it'll they'll be added to that calendar. They'll be able to add that calendar to their own. And so that's a cool way to, you know, make less work for yourselves. Work together. You guys are a cohort for a reason. You guys can make some cohorted calendars that you can share with each other. One thing I haven't done is Google Groups, but I was thinking this is something you guys might want to play with. It was talking about how if you guys made your own little cohorted group, you could make your own calendars, you can have discussion boards, you can do all sorts of stuff to where you guys connect with each other using Google. So I haven't done it. I can't really give you a tutorial on how to use it, but I was kind of reading up on it, and it sounded pretty cool. So if that's something you guys wanted to try, go ahead. But again, so let's say, let me add a new calendar. Let's do your other course. Or here, like field supervision, how about? So I'm gonna create, oops, why does it have to be an email address? Never mind. Create new field supervision, create calendar. I don't know why it takes so long. Okay, so it said it's made it, so let's go back. Okay, so here's my field supervision one. I really don't like brown. Let's change it to this nice, pretty purple color. Okay, so now I have field supervision. So let's say I have my field supervisor coming out to observe me on the 19th. Again, click down here, choose the right calendar. This will be my 3rd observation, and I'll put like what time it's at. 10 o'clock now. Okay. And I know that because of that third observation, I need to give my field supervisor 48 hours notice. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to make myself a task to send lesson plan to field supervisor. And there's my task. Okay, so you can kind of see how you're trying to like just manage your time. If you know Tuesdays are a super busy day, like you work 2 jobs, you work morning and night, then just say, okay, well, I need it 48 hours. I'm going to put it on Monday instead. And then what you can do is you can toggle your calendars on and off. Like I can see this one's already a mistake. So see how it's red? It should be green. So you can just go edit event and then go down here and change it to the correct. Now let's say you have something that's going to happen every single week and you don't want to have to put it in every single time. So like our course is we have Zoom sessions every other week, but let's say your other course is Tuesdays from, I'd have to develop that first. Okay, I'm not going to do that for sake of time, but let's say my SPED interviews was actually the other course. And I'm going to just say class, which is from 4:30 p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. My other class. You can go to more options over here, and then you can say that it's going to repeat. Okay, you don't want it to happen forever. Oh, annually is good for things like birthdays. If you want to remember birthdays, just put it in and then just say that it's annually, and that you're going to do that. But I usually use custom, and I'll say, okay, it's going to happen on Tuesday. Now you have a choice. You can choose how many weeks, or every however many weeks. So for like our Zoom, we could do every 2 weeks, and it'll automatically put it in. But for this one, I'm going to say that it's every Tuesday, but it's just for this semester. So I can say that it's going to end on May 10th, 2019. Oops, why didn't that work? May 10th, 2019. Okay, click done, save, and boom. So now you can see that it was automatically added all of these days, and it stopped by the 10th, it's done. So my last class would be on the 7th. So that's a cool feature too. If there's anything that's just always happening, maybe you're taking your kids to soccer and you want to throw that on your calendar so you know that you're not available at that time, then do that. And then let's say you just want to focus on one thing at a time, then you can just kind of toggle these off. So I'm not going to worry about that class right now. I'm not going to worry about my field supervision. I'm just going to focus on IT. Then you can do that, and then you can always just bring it back and say, okay, now I want to focus on the other class, things like that. They added a new feature. Let's see, where's their overlap? On the 24th. Let's go to the 24th. So you can kind of see how like your time will be there. But you can get an idea of how much time in the day you have. So for me, like if I'm scheduling appointments to meet with people, I have to kind of fit them in. And so going to the specific day kind of helps because you can really actually see how much time you have to offer. But again, I almost always go 2 months. And this is great because you'll find more and more, like when you have meetings and you're setting things up, sometimes people will actually send you a calendar invite where all you have to do is click yes and it adds it to your calendar for you. And so things like that are really cool. But try it out, see if it helps. It's a transition if you're not used to managing, all the different things in your life on Google Calendar, but I recommend try it, like go, and it's almost cold turkey. You got to get, just trust it, put it all in there and try it maybe just for like a month, or just try it until the end of the semester, because that really is about a month. Or if you're not comfortable with that, maybe start over the summer when things aren't as busy. But I highly recommend it because it's, you can access it from your phone, and then you can access it on your computer, and it's just always with you. And then you can color code it, and you can do all sorts of things with it. So hope this is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. And then if you do use Google Groups, let me know how that goes as well. But good luck. You only have about a month left. You have 3 major assignments due. Finish strong. Get it all done. And I look forward to celebrating with you once it's all over. All right. Take care. Bye.